Hello, viewers of Spell. Today we are going to be doing one of my compilations. Because I'm planning on doing more of the What If Asta was in Fairytale, but it's been a while since I've done the series, so I thought it would be a good idea to put out the compilation video for the last 4 parts. That way, people can catch up. And just a little note, I will also be looking for new software, so I'll probably be sounding different in the coming days because I'm looking for better software because I kind of realized that, yeah, I should probably be able to put out more videos than I do. And I'm going to try to look for software to see if that can help. But without further ado, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you like this video, commenting does help. So, let's begin this compilation of what has happened. So things would settle down after the Phantom Lord arc, with the normal events happening of Lucy discovering that Loki was actually Leo, and that would stay almost exactly the same, because if I remember that arc correctly, Gray was literally the only one who actually made a true appearance in it. It's a very Lucy-centric arc. But Leo would give them some tickets to a resort. They would go there and start having a good time. Swimming, eating, and just having a all-around joyous time. But Asta would notice that Urza seemed thoughtative. He had known her for a long time, but couldn't think of why. She would be sad. Eventually night would come, Urza would put on a dress, and everyone but Asta would go to the casino. Asta would just say, I'll meet you there in a little bit, as he would go for a walk. He enjoyed the sea breeze, but when he went back to the casino, he would see people rushing out in a panic. He would grab one of them and ask, "What's going on?" As the person would be slightly hysterical, just saying, "Wizards, fight! They attacked people! Get out of my way, I have to get out of here!" As he would let him go and rush in. He would first find Lucy with her bonds getting tighter, as he cut her loose, and he would ask her what had happened. She explained that they were attacked by some people claiming to be Urza's friends. She was tied up, and that she heard noises from the other parts of the casino. They would split up, as Lucy, like in canon, would find Gray and Juvia to her surprise, who had apparently tried protecting Gray when the attack happened. Asta would find Natsu, who had gotten shot in the mouth, but had managed to just take the hit. He shook Natsu awake, with Natsu waking up and just saying, "What happened? That guy shot me in the mouth." Asta just smiling like, "Glad to see you're alright," as Natsu just asked, "Where's Happy?" Asta realizing, wait, yeah, good point, where is he? When Natsu would take a few whiffs and say, "They took Happy! I'm gonna get that guy!" as he rushed off, with Asta meeting up with the rest, as Lucy confirmed that he saw them with Happy. They would rush after Natsu as they head towards what they did not know was the Tower of Heaven. They would get to the tower using Natsu's sense of smell, and all of the gang would sneak in, using Juvia's water magic. Once in, they would confront the guards, wiping most of them out effortlessly. Jalal would be looking at this, smirking, thinking that the plan's coming to fruition. Lord Zareth will be revived. And I wonder when I should release my other pawns. As he has a chessboard in front of him with chess pieces defining the players. As he pulls out a box of new chess pieces. Preparing for the battle. We start off with Urza telling the gang that they need to leave. Asta rebuttaling with, "But they took Happy, and I'm gonna go save him," as Natsu would run out. Asta just saying, "Wait!" As Urza just responded with, "I should explain things at least." As she would go into her backstory, nothing here would actually be changed, with the ending show coming out of the shadows, saying, "Do you really want us to believe that? That it was all Jalal?" As he started having a mental breakdown. Simon, another one of Urza's friends from the Tower of Heaven, would appear and just explain yes. As he mentioned that he had never believed Urza, and that he had managed to gather information about the outside world and realized just how wrong this whole thing was. But he couldn't defeat Jalal. But together he believes they can. We have to make sure Salamander and Wally don't clash. Ah! I can't believe we have a traitor! Wow. No wonder your guy had to hire us. As Simon looked and said, "Look out! The guy's from," as a blast of energy would come at Simon, blocked by Asta. Gray would launch an attack, as it would get absorbed. Simon just mentioned, "He's from Trinity Raven, one of the assassins. He can absorb magic." They would look up and say, "Yes, I'll absorb all of you," before Asta would jump up and attack him. He would say, "Go, I'll keep him occupied." As they would begin clashing, sword and blast, with the guy saying, "I can't believe a magicless run like you's doing so well." As Asta would quickly dodge. As Asta responded with, "I have to admit, you would be a pain to deal with otherwise." I guess we should exchange names. I am Ladros of Trinity Raven." Asta nodded, saying, "I'm Asta of Fairytail, also known as the Black Blade. Let's have our dance." As the battle would be fierce, Ladros would pull out his trump card, since Asta was either bouncing things back or slicing through them. As magic enveloped his body, as he just said, "I call this Ladros Assault Mode." As it started getting difficult for Asta to keep up, Asta would get an idea. Thinking of Ladros' new form, and thinking of Mary Jane, Lizana, and Elfman's form of magic. The thought of Lizana stung him for a second before he shook loose. But he decided to bring in energy from his sword. As slow as the fight continued, darkness would grow on his arm as it would creep up his body, forming a wing. Asta would realize he could shoot himself in one direction, but he had trouble controlling this. Ladros would begin to panic, saying, "How? You look like a..." As Asta would manage to get behind Ladros and slice him, ending the fight. As Asta would go to the ground, panting, saying, "That hurt a lot." The rest of the fights would go like in canon, including everyone getting off, except Simon, and presumably Jalal. Natsu managed to defeat him with his new power, and the Tower of Heaven would be destroyed by Aetherius, along with the Magic Council building being destroyed as well. This what if starts out where we left off. The rest of the gang got back home, with Urza's friends deciding that they need to go their own way. The gang gave them a fairy tale send-off. But meanwhile, back at the guild, Gajiel had been invited back. The gang would be surprised by this, and Gajiel would be having some difficulties getting back. Primarily, members of the guild, including Loxus, would start hounding him. One particular incident was when Gajiel was letting a couple members of Team Shadowgear, the team he attacked, beat him up. But then Loxus wound up starting to take it too far, actually using magic. As Asta would come in with his Demon Dweller sword and just slice it. As Loxus said, why are you getting in my way, Asta?" As Asta looked him in the face and said, "You know you're taking this too far." He attacked the guild, destroyed the guild building. But if Master let him back in, I'm willing to look the other way. He huffed and walked away, with Asta hoping this wouldn't be a sign of things to come. As he gave Gajiel a hand up, Gajiel kind of accepted. It's more like he was gonna shoo Asta's hand away, but he had just gotten blasted with lightning and was a little dazed. So Asta just grabbed his hand. But sometime later, everyone would be preparing for the Harvest Festival. Lucy planned on entering the beauty contest. Juvia found out and was about to enter herself. And Asta was heading out of town. Natsu would say, Asta, what are you... And Asta just said, just a little quick job came up. I'll just be gone for about an hour. Apparently there's some small monsters causing some trouble that need to be cleared out. Natsu would just say, okay, see you in an hour. Asta would continue walking and then reach a wide open area. He would be surprised not to see anyone out here because he was supposed to meet them before he heard a voice coming from behind him. As Freed was standing on a rock above where Asta was at, Asta would just look up and say, Freed, what are you doing here? As Freed just said, I have to make sure you don't interfere. As a large pit appeared under Asta as he fell in, as Freed just said, Elfman has plans for the Harvest Festival, and he can't have you interfering. Asta just said, what the heck does Loxus plan on doing? Freed would just say, he's just gonna remove the weak elements from Fairytail. Honestly, you would have been in those elements, but Loxus has a high respect for you and your abilities. As Asta just said, I'm guessing you're planning on using your enchantments in some way. As he brought out his sword, as Freed just said, we both know I would lose. I neither have the physical strength nor the abilities to handle you. As Asta attempted to climb out, the earth would give way. As Asta would say, what? As he noticed there was magic script in the walls. Freed would just say, I enchanted the walls till they crumbled apart. I knew no magic would hold you, but physical objects will. Asta just said, wait until I get out of here, and then I'm gonna... Don't worry, with Freed responding. I will simply release you when the time comes. After all, Roxas has already deemed you're strong. After all, I want to say you were in the Thunder Legion even before I was, but then quit. As Asta just said, yeah, I was in there for a few weeks. Until I realized how narcissistic Roxas got. Now I know you're one of his big fanboys, but I don't think that means you have to go along with every idea. And I know whatever he's doing is going to be some sort of thing that should get him kicked out of the guild. If he has to have me trapped somewhere for him to do it. Freed would just say, I've also enchanted it so no one can hear you. You should only have to spend a day down there. There's food and water in the corner. As Freed activated his wing spell and flew away, Asta just saying, get back here! As Asta prepared to escape. Back at the Fairytail Guild Hall, the beauty pageant would start, and Natsu would say, that's weird. Wonder why Asta hasn't gotten back yet. As Gray just responded, wait, you're right, where is Asta? As Natsu just said he was going to be out for a while. As the beauty pageant would begin and go on as in canon, including with Evergreen turning all the contest contestants into stone, and Loxus announcing his tournament of Fairytail, and that it's for the good of the guild, to get rid of the weak members who've slowed it down, and for Gramps to give over the reins to him. This infuriating all the members of Fairytail, and like in canon, all of them rushing out to fight Loxus. But before Gray could leave, Makarov would ask him, where's Asta? As Gray just said, he apparently took a job right before the festival. It wasn't supposed to take long. As Makarov saying, he. Yes, he did, but he isn't back yet. As Makarov's face went pale. Loxus! As Gray said, you don't think Asta's abilities would have been able to counteract most of Freed's enchantments. That means they're a big part of this, along with possibly counteracting Evergreens. We'll have to do this without him, but this will be a lot harder. As the tournament of Fairytail would begin, Makarov would say, I should confront Loxus myself, as he would go for exiting the building and would be stopped by an invisible wall. Makarov would question this as Gray would try to pull him out, but then they would notice writing, which specifically said if you were above 80 or a stone statue, you can leave. As Makarov scowled and say, so he's already showing his hand. As Gray said, I'll go on ahead. As Makarov nodded. As Natsu would come up and say, don't worry, Gramps, I'll pummel Loxus into the ground. As he also collided. As is very bizarrely wound up confusing him. And everyone else. And when Gajul tried, the same thing would happen. Making everyone incredibly confused that somehow Natsu and Gajul were both over 80. As Makarov would say, we'll have to hope either Natsu can get back or something winds up changing. As the Battle of Fairytail would commence. As Makarov would look horrified as the numbers of guild members would start going down suddenly. As he would question, they're slaughtering each other. How? Members of Fairytail would be trapped in Freed's enchantments, which forced them to fight. Many, wanting to save their comrades, would wind up fighting, resulting in them being heavily injured. The citizens would be questioning, what's going on? Why are so many of the Fairytail wizards fighting? Since the enchantments didn't work on them, and the guild members didn't want to start a panic. As Makarov would say, they're fools, they're just playing into his plan. As the numbers from Fairytail would slowly start to get whittled down. As Makarov would send one of the remaining guild members with paint magic to see if he can go sneak out of town. Unfortunately, he would be caught by Freed. Apparently, there's another enchantment to detect people leaving town. As we flash over to Gray, he would be saying, where the heck is the Thunder Legion? They're the ones who started this. As two totem-looking things would appear behind Gray and blast him. Gray, dodging, would say, Bixlow, it's you. As a battle would begin, Bixlow using his ability to manipulate spirits to try to blast Gray, and Gray countering with ice. As the battle would go on, Gray would just say, as Gray would freeze Bixlow's puppets, he would put them into mannequins. As Gray said, you and the rest of the Thunder Legion pick places for you guys to hold up where you're the strongest, as the rest of us have to fight through the other members to get to you. This sounds less like it's about you being strong and more like your egos. As Gray would freeze more, as they just wouldn't stop coming. As Bixel would just say, I guess that's true. But then again, your numbers would probably you'd probably try to overwhelm us with numbers if we didn't. As Bixel would continue with saying that Loxus just wants the guild to be strong again, where no one would mess with us, where Phantom Lord wouldn't attack. As Gray would say, is that all this is about? Loxus's ego? It's kind of interesting he's complaining about the whole Phantom Lord incident, considering he didn't even show up to help. As Gray would think he had gotten the upper hand, but would get blasted in the back, ending the fight. As Natsu would start to think, I think I'm going to try reverse the petrification. As Makarov said, Natsu, I don't think you can do it. As he lit his hand on fire and said, sure, we'll just melt the stone off. As Makarov said, you would survive that, but most people wouldn't. Stop! As he would accidentally knock over Urza's statue and crack it. He would start to panic, saying, sorry, Urza! As Gajo would walk up and say, calm down. We need to use my steel and your fire to weld it shut. As the enchantment broke, Urza would realize that they were probably going to try to do something dumb and would kick them back. As Makarov would say, how are you free? Urza, thinking back, would say, it must be my artificial eye. It must give me some resistance. It wasn't until the statue was damaged a little, though, for the enchantment to break. As she would prepare for battle, as the board would adjust. Twice, though. One for Urza, and another one for Asta. As he broke through Freed's enchantment, keeping him enclosed, and would rush in his Black Asta form towards Magnolia. Okay, I hope you liked this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Back to more content, next upload. And yeah, if you have any recommendations for any good software I could look up, put them in the comments. I'm interested to hear your feedback. This will be Spellree, signing off, and hope to see you around the channel.